Hello everyone, this is Kevin, your entrepreneur, and hey, George Penton, this one's for you, because the Georgia Supreme Court has just ruled against the taxi industry when they tried to sue Uber and Lyft to basically get them under control. And the reasoning was that the taxi industry, of course, sued Uber and Lyft for poaching on their business. It wasn't fair. They have advantages we don't have, all those same lies that you keep posting in my comment section and, whatever. And the Supreme Court pretty much said, yeah, well, you know what? We don't believe the taxi industry has a right to an unaltered monopoly. So Uber and Lyft stays. And you know what? You don't like it, you're just going to have to compete. This is the thing that I have always been strongly for Uber and Lyft. I've always been for competition is a good thing. I know sometimes the drivers kind of get caught in the middle of it, but you know what? Competition is ultimately a good thing. If there is a better place to work, the employees can go work there. If customers have a better place to spend money, they can spend their money. Taxis have sucked for so long because for the longest time, they didn't have any competition. You wanted to go somewhere, you had to get a taxi or a limo. And you didn't have a whole lot of other options. And the cars were smelly and they were dirty and the drivers usually weren't friendly. And Uber came along and changed all that. And then Lyft came along and Sidecar came along briefly. Didn't work out too good for them in the long run, but competition came around and now we have options. People not only have options where they want to spend their money, they have options on where they want to work. If I don't want to work for Uber, I can work with Lyft or vice versa. It's a good thing to happen. Now, the main point they were trying to make, of course, was they were trying to hinge it on the medallion system. This damn medallion system. I can't stand this thing, I tell you. This is like an excuse that needs to just die already. Because they point out, well, our taxi drivers have to, be certified and have to have a medallion. Guys, the medallion is no more of a certification to drive a car than a driver's license. You have a car, you're certified to drive a car. If your car gets inspected by any mechanic and they say, yeah, wheels work, doors work, seatbelts work, lights work, you're good, guess what? Your car is suitable to drive people around. The taxi industry wants to act like this is a high-class job that only a select few skilled number of people can do. No, it's not. It is not a specialty skill. Look outside. Look out your window. I remember when I was 16, I was about to learn how to drive a car. I was scared. I told my dad, I've got autism, so getting behind the wheel of a vehicle is scary. It's like, Dad, I don't know if I can do this. And he's like, Kevin, look around. Everyone else is doing it. Driving a car is not that difficult. By all accounts, driving people around in a car is something pretty much anyone can do. Anyone can do it, so long as they can drive a car. The medallion system, I don't know why the medallion system was introduced in retrospect. I think it was to just keep too many people from getting into car. I don't know why the medallion system was created. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. You'll have to do your own research. But basically, a medallion system is just an additional driver's license. And each city allowed so many medallions out there, and they put a cap on those medallions. And once that cap was reached, guess what? Then the prices of the medallions were inflated. And now people have to spend and slave a lot to buy these really, really expensive medallions for a job most people agreed sucked. And with this medallion system, you couldn't drive a taxi without these things. So what did a lot of the taxi companies do? They started buying them up, especially since there was a cap. And then a few select companies had a monopoly on the transportation system when it came to cars. So Uber and Lyft came and it broke that monopoly. And breaking monopolies are a good thing. And now the taxi industry, they don't like it because it's taking money for a service that is cheaper and better. And by the way, when Uber raises their prices, and the prices will go up, I suspect they're going to be going up next year, folks. I really think they're going up next year. Guess what? They're still going to be cheaper and better than the taxi industry, because the taxi industry has not changed, and they refuse to change. And until they decide to change, they are going to continue to suck and suffer and eventually die. Here's the thing that the judge pointed out to the taxi industry in the case. There is nothing from them stating that they can't raise the amount of medallions they make. They can make more medallions available anytime they want. They just don't want to. They can make more cars and hire more people. They can do that. They just don't want to. They can lower their prices. In fact, they even kind of suggested, hey, you know, if you make more medallions and bring more drivers in and get them more out there, you can actually lower the costs of running the taxi fleet, and thus you can lower the prices, thus making the taxis more attractive again compared to Uber and Lyft. But they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do it because they had the monopoly for so long that the idea of actually competing with someone is a foreign concept to them, and they do not want to do it. But the Georgia Supreme Court said, hey, you know what? Too bad. You do not own a monopoly on this industry. You never have. Well, okay, they have had, but it was unintentional. You know what? Some competition came along. People like it. And you know what? Maybe 50 years ago when we made this medallion system, maybe it made sense. Now, we're not really sure why it makes sense anymore. Like, why? I mean, those fancy machines that were in the cabs that told people where to go, hey, that's on a smartphone now. Why do we need the taxi industry for this stuff? So, yeah. I have many, many issues with the taxi industry's arguments against Uber and Lyft. Especially since all their complaints revolves around taking business away from them and not actually how the drivers are treated. If anything, you'd think they'd go to Uber drivers and Lyft passengers and say, hey, do you like driving cars and people around for a living, but you don't like the way they're treated? Well, why don't you come work with us? We can make more money. Like, we allow tipping. But, yeah, they don't really care about that. They just care like, crud. We actually have to compete for once. Yes, heck with that. Let's sue the jerks. I don't know. So, anyway, that's all I'm going to say for now. I assume the taxi industry will keep suing them in other states, but at least in Georgia, it's over. Uber and Lyft is there to stay, barring some other event. But if they're going to go out of business there or get kicked out from Georgia, it won't be because the taxi industries were able to sue them out of business. It won't be. So what do you folks think? Do you agree with the Supreme Court's decision? Do you disagree with it? Do you believe the taxi industry has gotten better since Uber and Lyft have come along, or do you think they have stubbornly refused to change? I would love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you like these videos, consider becoming a Patreon or buying some cool swag from the Great Media Universe store. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.